Hi everyone, Vinay here. Welcome to our channel DDN. In this video, I will try to cover the remaining basics of the Python for Beginners tutorial. Please watch part 1 before watching this video. I will paste the link in the description below. And in continuation to the part 1 video, here I want to show you how we can start using conditional logic in our code. Basically, any expression that you enter in breaks down to either true or false. So let's just take an example. Enter print and I am going to ask is 5 equals to 4. One of the things you will notice is when I ask this question is 5 equals to 4, I entered in two equal signs and that's not a typo. Here I want to run a test for equality. I basically want to check are these two equal, and you check for equality you use two equal signs. Is 5 equal to 4? Here when I run it we will see that no, it's false. 5 does not equal 4. Now you might be saying of course 5 does not equal to 4. So over here I can also check are they not equal to one another. So here instead of the equal sign I will insert an exclamation mark. So here I have an exclamation mark followed by an equal sign. So this is my way of asking the computer is 5 not equal to 4? And I think we all know that true. So when I run it, here I get true back. Along with equal to and not equal to, there are many other operators that I can also use. I have less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. And here you can see the symbol that you can use for these different operations. And over on the right hand side, you will see a few examples of how you could use this. So I could insert any one of these into that print statement and you will get this corresponding result. We can now take these different operations and we can now combine it with variables that we just learned about. And let's type in an example here. So I will start with an example. I have an younger nephew. His name is Dhruva and he is just 3 years old. So let me create a variable and I call it Dhruva's age and it's currently equal to 3. So I am taking this value of 3 and I am assigning it to this variable. Now let's say I want to check is he old enough for kindergarten. Maybe I type in age at and I will type in kindergarten and maybe age at kindergarten is 5. So I will enter in equals 5. So I now have two different variables and I have assigned a value to each of those variables. Now down here I can check the quality of these. So maybe I will check. So maybe I will say print and let's check that is Dhruva's age is that equivalent to the age at kindergarten. And so then I will hit run and here we will see that it is false because Dhruva's age is coming back as 3, age at kindergarten is 5 and those don't equal one another. So we can do the same type of check except we could do it using variables. Now with this expression here I am simply checking is Dhruva's age equal to the age at kindergarten and it comes back as false. But what if I want to do something a little bit more complex? What if I want to check if Dhruva is less than the age of kindergarten? Well, he should probably be in preschool or daycare. And if he is 5, he should be in kindergarten. But if he is older than 5, he should be in some other class. And right now, this is just doing one check. It's just looking at one point. Is he at the age? For kindergarten, the easiest way to think of this is like a flowchart. So here I have the current age, and depending on his age, any one of these different scenarios could be true. Now I won't be able to do that with this simple expression that we wrote, that is just checking one thing. If I want to check multiple different criteria, this is when I can use an if statement. Now we're back in Visual Studio. I'm going to delete this last line and I will keep these two variables, the one with Dhruva's age and the other one with the age at kindergarten. And I will enter down a few lines. Once again, the white space doesn't matter, so don't worry, you could enter down a few lines. And now we want to enter an if statement. An if statement is really easy to write. You simply type in if, and here now I can do my check. So first I want to know Dhruva's age is less than the age at kindergarten. So here I could type in my variable. Once again, it gives me this helpful suggestion of using Dhruva's age. And first I can check if he is younger than the age of kindergarten. So let me enter in the age of kindergarten. So this is going to be my first check. Once I finish entering in this statement, I need to enter a colon. And when I hit enter, this drops me down to the next line. One thing you will notice is it automatically indented the line. What will happen is it will check this. And if it turns out that Dhruva's age is less than the age of kindergarten, in this case Dhruva is 3, the age of kindergarten is 5, so this would be true. It's going to evaluate this code, so whatever code I enter here, it will go through and it will execute that. So let's test this out and let me type in print. So I will enter this function and maybe we say something like Dhruva should be in preschool. Once I finish typing that, I will go to the end of this line and hit enter again. Here you see that it continues to indent it. Let's now test this out to see how it works. I will go up here and click on run. And here we get the text that says Dhruva should be in preschool. Now let's say that maybe Dhruva is 10 now. So here Dhruva's age is 10 and that is not less than the age of kindergarten. So when I run, here I get nothing back because it evaluates this and it comes back as false, so it doesn't execute this code. Now there is nothing else here, so it simply returns nothing. Now let's say I want some fallback. So let's say if this is false, I want to say something else. Down here I can use else. So it will check this and it will check if this is true, but if it turns out being false, then it will fall back to else. So here I will enter an else, a colon, and here again it indents out. So here I could say if this is not true, then execute this block of code. So here maybe I will insert another print function. So let me type in print. I will open up the parenthesis and let me type Dhruva should be in kindergarten or another class. So I have now typed in my else statement. So let's try running it to see what it will happen. So it will check the first if statement that evaluate to false, and then it should fall back to else. Let's test this out. So when I hit run, here it says Dhruva should be in kindergarten or another class. So this logic is working exactly as we expected. Alright, now I have two conditions here. I basically check the first condition, and if this is false, it just falls back to this one. But let's say I want to check for additional conditions, and right here I can enter something called if, basically else if. So you can go through and check any number of conditions. It will start at the top, and when it finds one that is true, it will display that message and then exit. But if this is false, it will go to the next one and check that condition. And I can add any number of else ifs here. So I will type if, and maybe for this condition I want to know if Dhruva is 5, he should be in kindergarten. So here I will say Dhruva's age, and here once again I want to check if it is equal to the age at kindergarten. And remember, we don't enter one equal sign, we enter 2. And here I will enter the other variable age at kindergarten. So this is going to be my check, and if this is true, we now want to evaluate some code. Now just like we did before where I entered the colon, let's make sure we enter in a colon here at the end. That's part of Python syntax. Here I will type in print, and I will type in some text that says enjoy kindergarten. Now I have added this else if statement that checks to see if he is in kindergarten. So this last statement no longer makes sense, where I say Dhruva should be in kindergarten or another class. So maybe I simply remove this and I say Dhruva should be in another class. So this will just be my catch all at the end. So let's test this out to see how it works. So let's say Dhruva is 3 and I run it. In this case, the first condition here is true. So Dhruva should be in preschool. And here I get the text down below. Dhruva should be in preschool. Now let's say Dhruva is equal to 5, or maybe he is 5 years old now. And we run it. Here the first condition is false. So it skips over that one. It looks at the second condition, and here Dhruva is 5 and that's the age at kindergarten. So here I get the text saying enjoy kindergarten. And let's say now that maybe Dhruva is 10. So here when I run it, it evaluates the first statement. He is older than the age of kindergarten. So that is false. His age is not equal to the age of kindergarten. So that's also false. And then it falls back to the else statement, and so Dhruva should be in another class. So here we just tested that this is working just like we expect it to. Next, I want to show you how we can use functions in Python. And if you have ever used any other programming language before, you might know them as a subroutine or a method, but it is all the same thing. So we are going to use functions, and you have actually already been using a function. We used the print function right here. You see that we have been using print multiple times. This is a function. You call this function, you pass in some text, and then it prints it out on the screen. So that's just a basic example of a function that we have already been using. Now the cool thing is we can create our own function. So what is a function? Well, it's basically a block of code that you can package together with a name and it does something. So in this case, anytime you call print or input, it takes some action depending on what that function is. The good thing is it makes your code more modular and also reusable. So here for example, every time we want to print something on the screen, we simply call this function and then it takes that action. We don't have to enter in all the different code associated with printing your text on the screen. We simply rely on this function. So it makes your code a lot more reusable. So let's go through and create our own function. Right now I will go through and delete all of this code that we had, and let's say just to show the value of functions, let me enter print and then Vinay has a great channel. I'm going to enter this 3 times. I figure the more I say it, maybe the more it sticks, and the more you read it, you might start to believe it. So here I have typed it in 3 different times, and now I am going to run it. Here I will expand the terminal just so we can see it, and here printed out 3 times. But actually look at that. I entered Vinay has a great channel, but I want to correct it as TDN is a great channel. Now, because I am not using a function for this, while I am using the print function, but I have not created a function to print this out 3 times. So I have to correct every single line instead of Vinay has a great channel to DDN is a great channel throughout my code. To correct this, and I imagine that you reference something many times in your code and maybe you make an error, you need to update something. It could be a pain to have to go through all of your code to update it. So instead you can create a function, and I will show you how we can create a function to print this out multiple times. And then we can call it whenever we want. Okay, so let's create a function. I will simply go down a few lines. To create a function, we have to type def. This basically stands for define. And here we can type a name for our function. And I'm going to call this function, let's say print Vinay. So I have typed in my function name, and then all functions need to have parentheses at the end. So I will open the parentheses, close the parentheses, and write down here once again, just like we did with the if statement, I will insert a colon. So I now have my function. When I hit the enter key, here too, just like with the if statement, you see that it indents it automatically. So once again it indents, and any of the code underneath here will be part of this function. Next I want to enter some code in this function, so maybe I will set up a variable and I will call this text, and let me insert some text here in quotes. Let's say Vinay has a great channel. So that's going to be my text. Now right beneath that, here I could use print. I say let's print the text. And I want to print this 3 times. So insert it in 3 times right here. I am going to delete this earlier example. Here we just have the function. So I have my function now. Can I run it? Let's try clicking on run. So I click on run and I get nothing back. And the reason why is right up here we have defined a function, but we have not actually called this function. So I have defined what should happen when I call this, but we haven't called it yet. So here I will go down and I will backspace. So I am out of this block of code that's associated with this function. And here now I can call my function. So just like we call the print function. Here I could say print and let's type in underscore Vinay and then I will open and close my parenthesis. So right now this will call the function. So when Python sees print Vinay, it will look up to this definition for Vinay and then it will execute this code. So let's click on run to see what happens. Now look at that. Vinay has a great channel and it printed it out 3 times. Look, there is that error here. So right up here I could go to my function. I could add, instead of Vinay has a great channel, I could add DDN is a great channel. And then I can hit run. And it looks like that's now successfully updated in all cases. Now I could go through and I could call this function multiple times. So now when I hit run, see how many times it's printed out. DDN is a great channel. Every single time I reference this function, it will go back up here. It will look at the function definition and then it will run this code within that function. I first need to define it before I can call it. Here I will remove these 2 references to the function. And so let's take the call of the function and I will move it to the very top. So here I call the function and then I define it. So if I hit run now, here you get an error because here it says we will print ddn. Well, it doesn't know about that function yet because it comes up later on in the code. So once again I need to make sure I call this function after I have defined my function. So typically in code you will see all the different definitions, functions, and the functions at the top. One of the good thing is we are using Visual Studio Code. It is here when I click over the function and I can collapse this function. So let's say I'm writing code and I want to have a whole bunch of functions that do different things. I can collapse it and then that way it clears up my view a little bit. And here I could expand it if I need to jump into this function and update any of the code within. With this one function that I defined on, currently I don't pass anything into the function and I also don't get anything back from the function. If you remember the print example, here with print I am passing certain text that I want to print. So basically I am sending an argument or a parameter and I can do the same when I create a function. So let's say instead of entering the text here within the function, let me actually get rid of this line. And here is my part of function definition. I will type text. So as I define my function, it's expecting me to pass in some value. So let's now go down here and look at the position where I am calling my function. It says print Vinay, and here I can now pass in a value, or basically pass in a parameter. So I will type in DDN is a great channel. So here you will see, as I call this function, it's passing in this parameter or this argument. When I pass this here in the definition, it says it's expecting some text to be passed in, and down below the print, it's taking the text that I pass into this function. So now when I hit run here, you will see the same result. DDN is a great channel. And this is just an example of how you can pass values into your function. Next, I want to show you how we can put an if statement within a function. So here again I will type in def. This will define my function, and I'm going to call this school age calculator. So I want to basically determine based on a child's age, where should they be in school, and I want to get two different values. I want to get the child's age, so I will type in age as one of the parameters or arguments, and I also want the name of the child. Now just like we did before, let's put a colon here and then let's press enter. Here once again you will see that it automatically indents me, and so that shows that whatever code I write here is part of this function. And now I want to insert my if statement, so I am going to check first off if the age is less than 5. Once again I will insert the colon, and when I press enter here, it indents me even more. So now I am within this if statement. So if this evaluates to true, we are going to execute this code. If it's true, I want to display some text. So here I will call the print function. Here I will open it up, and maybe I show some text that says enjoy the time. You are still a young guy. You don't need to be in school yet. So I have typed some text. Earlier we have just been printing out text, but I can also print out variables together with the text. So here I can enter a comma, and then I will type the name. Here I will type another comma, and let me enter quotes again, and I will say is only. Here I will enter another comma, and then I will type the variable age. So here you can see what it will do. Let's say the age is 3 and the name is Dhruva. It will say enjoy the time. Dhruva is only 3, so that's what we will display if he is under 5. Let me hit enter, and here now I want to enter another condition. So I will hit backspace. So I go back, and here I will enter if, basically else if. And I want to say if age, let's say, is equivalent to 5, then I will enter the colon, and here maybe I will say enjoy kindergarten, and then I will show the name. So here I will type print, and then I will open the parentheses and I will type the quotes, and here we will say enjoy kindergarten, and here I will type in a comma, and let me type in another comma, and then I will display the name. So here it will say enjoy kindergarten, and lastly I want to add one more condition. So I will hit enter, backspace, and here I can say else colon, and here maybe I will say print. They grow up so fast. exclamation mark. I have now finished defining my function and I have all of the different conditions within the function. So here I can enter down and I will press backspace twice. So I exit out of both the conditions and also the function. So now here I can call my function. So I will call school age calculator and here I need to pass in two different values. I will pass in the age, I will enter a comma and then I will type in the name Dhruva. So now if I run this, here you will see that it calls the function and then it goes through all of these different conditions. And so here Dhruva is less than 5. He is only 3, so it says enjoy the time. Dhruva is only 3. And here we could test it out. Here I will change it to 5 and if I run it, it says enjoy kindergarten Dhruva. Let's say Dhruva is now 10 and I will run it and here it says they grow up so fast. So here now you see how we can call a function and here we pass in values into that function and it uses those values to run an if statement and to evaluate which one is true. Next, I want to show you how you can also get a parameter back from your function. So far we have looked at how you could just run a function on its own, how you could pass values into the function, and now we are going to look at how you can get a value back from the function. For this one, it's just going to be a really simple example. I want to know what is your age going to be in 10 years and we will use a function to do this. So here once again let's define a function by typing in def and here the function name will be add 10 to age. Once I have typed in the function name, I want to get one bit of input into my function or one parameter. Here I will type in the age, so someone will send their age and then function will add 10 to that age. At the end of the definition of the function, let's enter a colon and hit enter. Here this automatically indents me. And now, right now, I want to figure out what the new age is. So here I will create a variable called new age and I want to set that equal to the age that is being passed in. So I will type in age and I am going to add 10 to it. And right underneath that, now once the function runs through and it does its magic, I want to return that value. So here I will type in return and I want to return the new age. So I will select this. This will send the value back or return the value once the function is done running. Here now I want to call my function and when I call the function I can assign that return value to a variable. So here maybe I create a new variable called how old will I be and I can set that equal to my function. So here I will call the function add 10 to age and here I want to pass in, let's say my nephew who is 3, so I will pass in 3. But now I need to print it out. So right down here, let me type print and I'm going to print how old will I be. And now if I hit run, here we will see that comes back as 13. Now once again, just to see how this works, here I am saying how old will I be. this is a variable and I am assigning this value to it, which is basically my function of add 10 to age, and I am passing in 3. So here it gets the age of 3, it takes 3, adds 10, it assigns it to new age, and once it's done running through the function, it returns the new age. So the new age is 13 and it assigns 13 to how old will I be. And then here it prints out 13. So that's how it works, and that's how you can get or you could return a value from a function. Next, we are going to look at how you can use loops. What is a loop? Basically, it allows you to execute a block of code multiple times. So think of it this way. Every single week, I put a reminder that I could take out the trash from my room. It reminds me every single week. So in a sense, that's kind of like a loop. Alright, let's see how we can create a loop in Python. So let's now create a loop, and there are two different types of loops. One of them is called a while loop and the other one is called a for loop. We are going to start a while loop, and it is actually pretty easy to do. I'm going to create a variable just called x, and I will assign it the value of 0. And so here now I can type in a while loop. So I will say x is less than 5. So while this value is less than 5, I wanted to execute some code. So here I will insert colon. We do this with our if statements, with our functions. Here when I hit enter, now it automatically indents me, so I am now within the loop. And here I can, let's say, print x. So I will enter that, and then right after I print x, I want to make sure I increment x, otherwise it will be an infinite loop. So here I will type x equals x plus 1. Just a really simple example. We start out at 0, and here it will say if x is less than 5, in which case it starts at 0, it is so, then it prints x. And then we add 1, so now x is 1 and x is still less than 5. So it will keep executing until it reaches 4. So let's run this to see how it works. So here it prints out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then once x equals 5, it's no longer less than 5. So then we exit our loop and it's all done. Now that's the basics of how you can create just a very simple loop. There is also another loop called a for loop. So I will go down right here, and this is also pretty simple. Here I can type say for x in range, let's say 5 through 10. And then here I will close the parenthesis, enter a colon, and here too I will print the value of x. Let me delete the value of word above. And here what I will do is it will go through that range. So when I hit run, here you see that it starts at 5 and it goes all the way up until 10, but it doesn't include 10. So this is another form of a loop that you can use. You can do some pretty good. For example, I have the variable days and I have an array assigned to it, and these are just all the days of the week, and I have an array assigned to it. So here I am looking at this variable. Here I will insert a colon, and maybe I just want to print out the value of d. So as it goes through each day of the week, and here I can enter run, and here it will go through the variable of days, and here it prints out every single day of the week. So that's pretty cool. Now, one of the good things too is you can start using some of the logic that we learned up above in your loops. So let's say that I want to know what are all of the days before Thursday, and once we hit Thursday I want you to stop. Here I can insert an if statement. So I will say if D is equivalent to, let's say, Thursday, so I will type in Thursday, and at this point I want it to stop. So I'll type in break. So here if we click on run, you will see it goes through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it looks like it hits Thursday. And at that point we stop the loop. So at that point we break and we no longer print any of the other days. With loops we can also skip over items. So let's say that once we get to Thursday, I don't want it to include Thursday in the list, but I still want it to continue and look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Instead of using break, I can use something called continue. So now when I run the code here, you will see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it found Thursday, and we simply want to skip over that item, so we added continue. So here you see it skips over, and then we get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So once again you can use logic in your loops. You could also have it break and continue. So far throughout this video we have been looking at some of the fundamentals, and we have been writing all of our own code. However, one thing you can do is you can build on top of what others have already done using libraries and also modules. And there are lots of fantastic libraries that you can use. Let's say for instance that we want to print out the value of pi. It turns out there is an existing library called math. We could simply type import type math, and right beneath that let's use our standard print function, and here I will type print. And why don't we say something like pi is, and then I will insert a comma, and here now I can refer to the math library, and I will type in dot pi. So I want to get the pi value back. And here as I am typing that out, you will see all sorts of suggestions of what I could use. So here when I click on run, it will print out the value of pi. So once again, when you are programming, you don't necessarily have to write everything on your own. Instead, you can build on top of what others have done. If you were following along today, you might have occasionally run into different errors as you were trying to execute your code, and they can really be a pain to resolve. I want to go through three of the key errors that you might run into and how you can resolve them. So let's take one example here. I'm going to type print and I will type hello world. Now if you have been following along, you probably know that every time I type this function and I type text, I need to include my quotes around this, but I haven't done that. When I hit run right now, here I get an error, and this is referred to as a syntax error. And the reason why is I didn't follow the rules of the print function. I didn't follow the syntax rules for Python. The best way to troubleshoot these is to simply look through your code to find out where the error might be. So here I get name error, hello world is not defined. So here it thinks hello world is a variable. So this is one way where you can look at the error message down here, and that will help you troubleshoot up what the problem is. Now you might run into another type of error. Let's say it take 10 divided by 0. Let's say I take 10 divided by 0 and then I try to run this. And we all know that you can't divide by 0. Right here I get a 0 division error, division by 0. This is referred to as a runtime error. It just fails. Now you could look down here at the error message to see what it was, and that might help you troubleshoot where the problem is in your code. And typically when you get another message, you could go to something like stackoverflow.com and you can look up your error message to see if other people have encountered similar errors, and that will help you get down to the root cause. And lastly, there is another type of error that you might encounter. Let's say I type name equals, let's say Vinay, just like we did earlier. And here now I want to print and I will say hello name. So I want to print the name that I assigned to this variable. Here let me insert the parentheses and then I will hit run. So down here it just says hello name and it's not printing out Vinay. Now these errors here are referred to as semantic errors, and these are notoriously hard to troubleshoot. And the reason why is because everything is working as it should based on how you programmed it, but you are not getting the expected results. So for these, you typically have to sit down, look through your code, evaluate. Hopefully by now you understand the fundamentals of programming using Python. If you enjoyed this video, please give it up a thumbs up, and maybe you would like to see more content like this in the future. Please consider subscribing. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you next time. Bye. Thank you for watching.